Happy Sunday, everyone. Welcome back to another video. My name is Tawanda, and I'm the Migraine Crafting Diva. And on this channel, I do decorating on a budget, DIYs, and hauls with a sprinkle of migraine enlightenment. And today's migraine fact is, per the International Headache Society, migraines are grouped into three categories. Classical migraines, which are presided by an aura. You have common migraines, which are not presided by an aura. And then you have atypical migraines. For me, myself, I typically have classical migraines. I always get an aura when I'm about to have a really bad migraine that's probably going to knock me out for about 5 days or more. And I typically get I get blurred vision, especially in my my right eye. I typically get two large floaters that makes it hard to see sometimes. I do get some tingles, excuse me, in my hands. And I also sometimes, they call it hallucination. I'm assuming that's when you have visual disturbances. Like I might think that I might see something on the wall because of the floaters in my eye. But yes, so those are the three types of the three groups of migraines. So now that I've given you that information, I'm going to go ahead and get started with today's DIY. And I am so excited to show you this DIY. I just absolutely love this DIY and how it turned out. And it cost me $5, $5 whole dollars to do this DIY. I purchased the trim that you can see here from the Repurpose Project, a lantern that I had that I purchased probably 3 or 4 years ago, and I purchased it for outside Christmas decorations, and it did not last over a week outside of my house because the wind blew and knocked it over and the lantern broke off of it. But luckily I kept the pole and the base. And I also have a small piece of a spindle that I will be using on the top of the tree as the star. So what I'm doing here, so I'm going to go ahead and get started with explaining this DIY. So I basically purchased 4 of the pieces of trim from the Repurpose Project, and they were $1 a piece. And then one of the pieces I had my husband cut in half for me. And after he cut them in half, then he went and he trimmed the edges to make them angled so that it actually looks like a Christmas tree. And then after he did that, I wiped everything down with some Dawn Power Wash and some warm water. And I went back and I sanded the trim down, and I also sanded the pole and the base. And then I gave it a coat of cashmere, Waverly cashmere paint. And I also used the Waverly on the curves of the trim, and I sprayed everything down with a clear coat of the matte Rust-Oleum clear enamel. Once I did that, I brought everything inside because it was getting late out and it was getting dark, because now it gets dark here in Florida around 5 o'clock. And so I brought everything back inside, and then I took the trim and then I used some hot glue and some wood glue to glue it to the pole. And I could not find my E6000, and as I am sitting here doing this voiceover for this video, I looked in the bag for something and there was my E6000, but it's already done now, so I guess it doesn't really matter. So once I have all of my pieces glued onto my pole, I used some tape to keep it still while it was drying. So I let it dry for 24 hours. And then once it dried, I went ahead and started to peel the tape off. And that's kind of where it went downhill from there, because once I stood it up, the pieces actually started to fall off. So then I had to try and figure out how I could attach the wood to the pole. So what I ended up doing was going ahead and I screwed them into the back of the into the back of the trim. So here I'm just showing you that I had ended up putting some zip ties to hold the wood still. And as you can see here, it's wobbly and shaky. I mean, that piece didn't fall off like the rest of them did. As soon as I pulled the tape off, they just started to fall off. So here I'm just showing you what I did and how I put the how I use the pipe holders to secure the wood to the poles. And what I also did was I took just a small piece of cardboard and stuck it in between the pole and the pole bracket. And then I'm making sure that I have it even. I separated each piece of trim by 4 inches. So here I'm just going back and attaching everything. And then once I have it attached, I'll go ahead and flip it back over and put it into the base. And here I am. I'm adding fairy lights. And you guys know I always say that we have fairy lights all over our house. So I pretty much never have to buy new ones because we have so many of them. And actually, I was looking through one of my boxes for some Christmas decorations and found a whole box of brand new ones that I purchased a couple of years ago. So here I am just attaching the fairy lights. And then I have those 3 birds. My husband said that they're Florida birds, Florida bluebirds. I'm not sure, but I know that I purchased those on clearance at the Dollar General. They were 25 cents a piece. So they had 3 in there, so I went ahead and grabbed all 3 of those. So like I said, this DIY cost me literally $5, actually less than $5. And it's one of my favorite DIYs. I already have it out in my house, sitting in my living room. And actually, I was going to put it outside on my door, but then I remembered that a couple of years ago I made a wreath and I put some cardinals on it, and we kept hearing this like thumping noise, and we had birds that were coming, and I guess they thought, I don't know if they were trying to get to the cardinals or mate with them. I'm not really sure, but they kept running into we have glass on the outside on our doors, so they kept running into the window. So we kept hearing thump, 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 and then we finally realized what it was. So we ended up having to take that wreath off of the door. And I was actually going to use cardinals for this DIY, but the ones that I was going to use, I couldn't figure out how I wanted to put them on because they had little clamps on the bottom, and I didn't want to take the clamps off and end up possibly tearing up the birds. And I actually did drop one of these birds and the tail broke off, the bottom bird down there, and I had to glue his tail back on, but it still turned out really nice. And this, like I said, is one of my favorite DIYs, and I just absolutely love it. And it was budget friendly. Like I said, cost me less than $5, and I was able to repurpose the trim. And I think it's just absolutely gorgeous.
And that is it for today's DIY.
And I would like to thank you for spending the day with me and watching my video. If you like what I am doing, please like, share, and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. And like I always say, be nicer, be kinder. God will love you for it. And I hope you have a blessed day. And I will see you next Sunday. Goodbye.